Hey guys, absolutely crazy Mueller testimony. I sat there and I watched the entire thing, which spanned about a 5.5 hour period of time, and I know most people didn't. But you got to keep in mind what was going on. First, you had Trump gets elected, then the Democratic Party comes out with this Russia interference, and this goes on for almost 2.5 years, and then all of a sudden, here comes AG Barr comes out, and the final word on it all is no collusion, no obstruction. And so the Democratic Party, for the first time, the public at large realizes what we've been lied to the whole time. But the Democratic Party and mainstream media somehow pulls this narrative back together, spins it and twists it, and continues to go forward. Then Mueller shows up to give a testimony, and he pretty much literally sets the stage to give something for the Democratic Party and mainstream media, the false narrative, to run on. And they run with this thing, building up Mueller, building him up, making him greater and greater, of more and more importance. He's the hero. He's going to provide all the information. He's going to give you all this stuff. He's going to show all the obstruction. He's the important one. Wait till he shows up. You had even Hollywood got involved in it. Everybody got involved in it. And then Mueller shows up for this testimony, and it turns out to be an absolute complete flop. And once again, the American people were able to wake up to the fact that they've been lied to yet again. But what I want to do, guys, is I want you to take a moment and to listen to Carl Tuckerson and listen to what he says, because he actually breaks this down in such a way that the average person out there can see how Mockingbird media or mainstream media, how they create a narrative and establish a narrative and completely trick the people. And he breaks it down in such a way that instead of me making a video, I'm just going to allow you to watch Mr. Carl Tuckerson do the explaining. So watch this for me.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. Never meet your heroes. That's how the saying goes. They'll only disappoint you. Well, that's true, by the way, as Democrats across the country learned the hard way today. Former Special Counsel Robert Mueller testified on Capitol Hill this morning. If you watch the other cable channels, you're probably accustomed to thinking of Robert Mueller as a kind of progressive superhero sent here from on high to do battle with the diabolical Mr. Orange on behalf of the forces of light and justice. Hollywood literally produced a comic book about Robert Mueller. That's how convinced they were of his power and goodness. Single-handedly, Robert Mueller was going to save America. And then came the long, sad spectacle of today. Here's the actual Robert Mueller, caught without his cape and mask, squirming under the cold light of television cameras.
When discussing the June 2016 Trump Tower meeting, you referenced, quote, the firm that produced the Steele reporting, unquote. The name of that firm was Fusion GPS. Is that correct?
And you're on page 103?
103, that's correct, volume 2.
I'm not familiar with that.
Let me just help you. It's not a trick question, right? It was Fusion GPS.
Not familiar with Fusion GPS. Well, it turns out that if you're watching this show right now, you almost certainly know more about the Russia investigation than the man who led the Russia investigation. You know that Fusion GPS is the Democratic Oppo firm that paid Christopher Steele to produce the Trump dossier. Fusion GPS is the reason we're talking about Russia right now. In fact, Fusion GPS is the reason we had a Mueller investigation in the first place. But, of course, you knew that because you're paying attention. Somehow, Robert Mueller himself did not know that. What does that say about Robert Mueller? Well, this isn't a medical program, so we're not going to speculate about it. What we can say for certain, though, is that Robert Mueller never should have been testifying before Congress today. He didn't want to come. He came because Democrats forced him. They knew his condition. They were happy to exploit him anyway, and they did. To the left, the individual is always far less important than the mission, and the mission never changes, acquiring political power. Watch the congenitally shameless Jerry Nadler of New York use Mueller as a kind of human backboard. Throw the question, get it back.
So the report did not conclude that he did not commit obstruction of justice. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And what about total exoneration? Did you actually totally exonerate the president?
No.
Now, in fact, your reports expressly states that it does not exonerate the president.
It does.
Mueller did not exonerate the president. That was the headline on CNN today. Of course it was the headline. And that was the point of asking the question in the first place, to create a headline. Unmentioned was the fact that prosecutors don't exonerate anyone, ever. Prosecutors charge people with crimes, or they don't. That's the full scope of their power. Only God exonerates. The whole thing was a dishonest word game. Moments later, in fact, Robert Mueller conceded that his was the first Justice Department investigation in history to claim that its unindicted subject was not exonerated.
Can you give me an example other than Donald Trump where the Justice Department determined that an investigated person was not exonerated because their innocence was not conclusively determined?
I cannot, but this is a unique
Okay,
situation.
well, you can't. Time is short. I've got 5 minutes. Let's just leave it at you can't find it because I'll tell you why. It doesn't exist.
That was probably the high point of the day for everyone participating, everyone watching at home. Most of the rest of the time, it was depressing to watch. Mueller seemed deeply confused, at times confused about why he was there. Repeatedly, he struggled just to hear the questions he was being asked. When he did hear them, his answers often revealed he was not familiar at all with the report that bears his name.
Collusion and conspiracy are essentially synonymous terms, correct?
No.
If no, on page 180 of volume 1 of your report, you wrote, as defined in legal dictionaries, collusion is largely synonymous with conspiracy, as that crime is set forth in the General Federal Conspiracy Statute 18 U.S.C. 371. I'm reading your report, sir. It's a yes or no answer.
Page 180?
Page 180, volume 1.
Okay.
This was from your report.
Correct. And I leave it with the report.
So the report says, yes, they are synonymous.
Yes.
Hopefully, for finally, out of your own report, we can put to bed the collusion and conspiracy.
It went on like this for more than 6 excruciating hours. We hope you were doing something else today. We can tell you, though, that over 200 times Mueller simply declined to answer the question at all. Repeatedly, he said that critical questions central to the Russia investigation weren't in his purview.
Okay, so, here they had set this all up, had Mueller all hyped up as this great savior type thing that's going to bring about all the arguments that will allow the Democratic Party to progress forward with impeachment. And at this point, impeachment is pretty much out the window now. It's pretty much a complete flop. It just absolutely didn't go anywhere near where they wanted it to. Now, of course, the Democrats and the mainstream media will continue on with another false narrative and try to keep this thing rolling. But basically, that all ended last night. But we need to go back over to post number 3458, Q drop 3458. And remember what he said. He said, if AG Barr has access to all classified material, how does Mueller navigate? And as I said in the video, that the only way he's going to be able to navigate is very carefully. And we've seen that, because if he says a false testimony, then he's in big trouble. If he speaks the truth, then he's in big trouble with the ones that wrote the report for him. Obviously, he didn't write the report. He didn't know where anything in the report was. Like I said, I watched the entire Mueller testimony, the entirety of it. Very rough to get through, very funny at times because he just simply was completely lost. And remember that Mr. Mueller and Mr. Trump aren't that far apart in age. So you got different narratives going out there that Mueller's just an old man, he's getting forgetful, blah, blah, blah. Well, then so should Trump, but they're not that far apart in age. Trump's very sharp, very smart, near genius, and Mueller was obviously playing a role. He was navigating very carefully. He was using his time, understanding that each person would get 5 minutes to question him. And so he would stall it out. He would be like, well, where was that located? Okay, what was the question? Where you at? Okay, what was the question again? He was stalling it out. He was navigating very carefully. But in the end, the Democratic Party did not get what they wanted. In fact, the entire Democratic agenda was to basically get Mueller to say things in order for them to run on impeachment. which didn't pan out very good. Okay, so what I'm going to do is there's going to be a set of videos coming out. For example, the first video is going to be the opening statements of Nadler and of Mr. Collins and then Robert Mueller. Okay, that'll be the first video. Then I'm going to have a video of all of the key points that were brought up. And the reason I'm going to do this is because as people begin to awaken, they don't have an understanding of what happened to them. They don't have an understanding that everything's a lie and so forth and so on. They don't comprehend exactly what's going on the earth, and so they need a way to get caught up in what all's taken place. And what these videos are going to do is they're going to be the key points in the Mueller report that demonstrate the truth, that reveal the truth. So if you're one of the individuals that aren't completely sure on everything that's going on in these cases, then go watch these videos. If not, just go ahead and skip them, because really you don't have to watch them, because really these videos are going to be for the people that come along later down the road, or even tomorrow or whatever, that begin to awaken as we move forward. As we can see here, Q has been on a mission. Look at all these drops. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, he's just, let's go back down here for a second. And what he asked was, if he does all this, is it going to be important are they going to have to release, is AG Barr going to have to release, be forced to declass all documentation? And as I said, not necessarily. And what has happened since the Mueller report is an amazing amount of drops have come out from Q that point us to all sorts of information, eye-opening situations. And so really and truly, declass is not even needed. Now, will they still do declass? Perhaps they will. We don't know at this point. But with all this information that he just dropped, there's really no need to do a declass, because really it's declassified within the drops, but not declassified, if you understand what I'm saying. So, I mean, he just went absolutely crazy after the Mueller testimony. And by the way, the bed, this is inside the temple, guys. They said that it was a gym. Another one said that it was a place where he played the piano. Well, we got pictures. It's a bed. So anyways, a lot of drops have come out, guys. I'll get to these drops as quickly as I can, but first I want to make all this series of videos concerning the Mueller testimony. Nobody can sit there for 3 hours, 6 hours and watch the entire testimony. It's difficult to get through. Yeah, there's funny parts. Yeah, it was comical watching Mueller stall and navigate very, very carefully, but everything that the Democratic Party had to say was purely to try to find obstruction and to pinpoint obstruction. Well, in the United States of America, if the conclusion by AG Barr, by the Attorney General himself, and Rod Rosenstein and Robert Mueller, all in agreement saying no obstruction, no collusion, then a person is innocent until proven guilty. So you got the Democratic Party doing everything they can to create a whole nother narrative and go into impeachment. It's all nonsense. He was found with no collusion and no obstruction. The case is over. They have nothing to go on. They had no meat whatsoever. So I've eliminated all of the Democratic conversations, and in each video there will be short videos. The first one will be a little bit long. The rest will be either one or two testimonies, one or two people, and they'll be 5 to 10, 15 minutes long. That's it. Just very short videos so that you can sit there and take the time to listen to what the individuals are saying and Mueller's response, so you can gain a very good understanding of the truth of what has taken place up to this point. So guys, I'm going to end this video here. I love you guys. Get in the Word, stay in the Word, get the Word in you. It's very, very important that you get the Word in you guys. And expect a series of videos to come out. And like I said, if you're already completely and utterly caught up, skip the videos. But like, if it was me personally, even knowing what I know, if I didn't watch the entire Mueller testimony, then I would go ahead and watch these very short videos that I'm going to be putting out in a series, and then I'll get over to the Q post or other information that needs to come out. So I'll talk with you guys later. Remember that other than the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, the two most important things are love and truth. After that, peace and justice. Talk with you guys later.